I want to thank everyone for coming to this session. And I also would love to thank Carly and Adam for providing this opportunity to share this Maker Engineering session with all of you. Let's begin. This unit is called E is for Engineer, and this lesson is a unit lesson for kindergarten and first grade students. You may modify this lesson or these activities for any of your students. However, this unit is created for the students at my school in kindergarten and first grade. I'm using Google Slide to present all of this information for everyone. The unit says cup engineering, straw engineering, Kiva planks, wood block engineering, Play-Doh engineering, Geo6 engineering, and then we end with celebrating little engineers. These lessons have lots of music inside of them, embedded in them, because my role is STEAM. As we add the visual arts in our curriculum, we also add the fine arts as well. Let's begin with cup engineering. These are pictures that have been taken by me previously when we use this lesson for kindergarten. Cup stacking engineering, we start with our essential question: what is it about an object that will make it perfect for stacking? The objective for this lesson is to explore the stacking properties of materials. Observe the following materials. What I do with this particular section of the lesson, I ask the following questions to the students, and then I'll ask them different ones individually to answer the questions. Which materials stack easily? Will all the materials stack easily together? And why not? Now, as they have already talked about the ways to stack materials or which materials stack easily, we then talk about the properties of materials, giving the students a little bit of an introduction to what our objective is. And in this case, we're talking about how high can you stack and which materials are best for stacking. The videos played here, but we're not going to show the video here. Let's keep going. Explore cup stacking with engineering challenges. At this point, the directions here for the students will to have their 20 cups present with them. They're looking forward at me. They're looking forward because the challenges are projected on the board, and each task there will be a time. And this is one way that I also start interjecting and introducing the engineering design process, in which um, they are learning about time constraints in regard to engineering challenges. Here are a few of the different challenges. Students will create these images using their cups that they have on their desktops. And the students love this activity. They love creating and stacking cups. After we have finished with all of the different challenges, we then ask the students for additional challenges, such as building the widest cup tower, build a 3D cup tower, and then I give the students pipe cleaners and rubber bands for a group of students between 3 and 4 students. They get in groups and they have to create a tool so that they can stack the cups without using their hands. And that is very, very fun. The children love doing this one. This activity gives the students an opportunity to move and share what they already know about their shapes, their numbers, their letters. And it's a fun cool down activity that we use after we have finished with our cup stacking. After the video, then there's a reflection question. These questions are asked one or two, depending on the time that we have, because this lesson does move rather quickly. It's a fun lesson. However, our time is limited, but we try to get at least one or two questions in for reflection. At this point, then our students are able to collect all of the materials and put them away. And then there's a cleanup song for them. The next lesson that we have is called a straw construction lesson. And this is where they're going to be engineering using straws and connectors. The objective for this lesson is to create 2D and 3D structures. And basically, what happens is we discuss the image that they see. I may ask the students if the robot is 2D or 3D, or I may just simply say, what image on the screen do you believe is 2D, or which image is 3D? And this sparks a conversation on knowing the difference between 2D and 3D. Here, the students are participating in challenges where they're taking the straws and creating shapes. A lot of our students are not familiar with a lot of the basic shapes, so this is a great opportunity to reinforce basic shapes with the students. Each challenge has embedded music. That way that the students are able to be timed, and that way that students are also able to stay on task. After we've gone through several different challenges using the straws and talking about the different shapes, we're going to be listening to a story. At this time, the students will leave their desks and then they will come to the carpet. And I also have music for that too. Now, as they come to the carpet, they're going to listen to a story. And this is a story that a lot of you are very familiar with. It's not a box, and this story gives the children an opportunity to interact and reinforce what we're learning, and that is our shapes and being creative. After the story, the students go back to their desktops, and some of them have figured out that they're going to make a box. Now, in the story, it asks the students, if it's not a box, what could it be? And at this point, I still share with students how to make certain types of 3D shapes. And that's where we really get into the definition of 3D shapes. And then the students are able to create something from the story. The students are also able to be creative by getting inspiration from these following slides. And after they view these following slides, I give the students a choice to create whatever they want. Once they have done that, they have completed it, I allow the students to reflect by sharing with each other what they made or what they saw. And then we talk about how the lesson was for them. Here we have our cleanup song again. I believe in being very consistent with our little ones, so our formats are basically the same each time. Here we have our next lesson, and with this particular lesson, you're going to get a chance to see a lesson for first grade. Now, this lesson is called Blocks of Engineering, but this is where we get into a little bit heavier vocabulary, math vocabulary with our students. Sometimes I will start off with a video to kind of get the kids warmed up to what we're doing, and that's what this is. It's a shape song. Our question for this lesson is, how can we use technology to enhance our math and engineering skills? Now, this is a class where we integrate a lot of subjects, but what they're going to do with the technology is they're going to use their Chromebooks to as an assistant with the Nearpod, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes how we use Nearpod as a an assistant for the students to enhance their math and engineering skills. So we start off with this image where the students get a chance to talk about what they see, what they view. We talk about it as a class, and we also I'll do what's called a turn and talk with the students, and they'll get a chance to uh, share with their friends what they see on the screen as well. We introducing our math vocabulary. We're talking about what a polygon is, and this is where we get into specific definitions of 2D and 3D polygons. We talk about this. We talk about how many sides. We pronounce the words, and then we continue to learn by understanding what the geometric shapes are exactly and how they relate to what we see in our world. This time we're going to be introduced to a new building tool, which are the Kiva planks, and the students will be able to build polygons and geometric shapes. Now, within this section right here that I'm going to share with you with the Kiva planks, this is embedded into Nearpod, and this is where the students will have their Chromebooks. And when they have their Chromebooks, they will be making these shapes at their own pace. They will share one Chromebook for two students, but they all will have 15 to 20 Kiva planks. This is how we're able to allow our first grade students to start navigating using Nearpod. So they will select the arrows just like I'm doing, and they will make these different shapes. Now, these pictures come from me. This is me just putting different shapes together and images, and just I just used my phone to take these pictures and embedded it into the slides that you see here. The students love creating with Kiva planks. We talk about what we see. I let the students share what they think it is or uh, what it looks like. I will kind of guide them into making other types of objects that are related. For example, some students say this is a plant, some students may say this is a palm tree, and I let the students create and then talk about some of the images that they make using the Kiva planks. With this one, using the stick man, we give the children opportunity to change the stick man. So it looks like this. I said, well, what would you use to make it a stick girl? Or what would you use to make a stick have hair? Or how would you make the stick man have a personality, or use or describe the stick man and show the stick man running? Use your verb and use your verbs, and they'll have 'em running, skipping, or dancing or jumping. With the sun, the same thing. I may say, well, here's a sun, so what is another element that we see in the sky? And they can either create a star or a moon or something like that. So the Kiva Planks is a great way to really explore the students' learning, reinforce their learning, but also explore and expand their creativity using letters, um, using music. They love music, so they get a chance to talk about music. Those that know what these symbols are, they are allowed to talk about them, and then they're able to clap it out if they want to do that as well. The next challenge we have after we put our Chromebooks away is we get into groups. And then once we get into groups, the students are able to create letters of their name. Then they are able to create a tree. And then we walk around the room and take a look and see how different students make. And I don't say make a 3D tree or 2D tree. I just let the students create their tree. Build a robot. They love that one. And then this one is the one that I really like. Every student has to create whatever they want using these amount of blocks. And then once they have done that, we will take a gallery walk around the room. I will say, all right, boys, it's your turn. You will walk around the room first. Girls keep working. And as the girls are working, the boys are able to see, and the reason why I do this is twofold. One, so that the students can kind of move around a little bit because they've been sitting, but two, maybe get some inspiration from some of the creations that they see. And then I have the boys sit down, and then the girls will walk around, and then they will view each other's work. That's a good way that I like to do as far as assessing, because I also try to encourage a student critiquing sessions as well. Not heavily done, but we always try to keep it positive. But the students love showing off their work. After we have finished that lesson, then we're going to move into another lesson. And this lesson will be for kindergarten. And this lesson is about woodblock. I call it woodblock engineering, but these are the wood blocks that a lot of the kindergartners have in their classrooms. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to interject some fun, because after all, we are talking about embedding play in our lessons, and this one is a really good one for kindergarten. Here we're going to be using a lot of the rules that we talk about, the routines. We try to establish lots of routines. So this is where we have our carpet expectations, because our students, when they come to the STEAM lab, they sit on the carpet, and we kind of go over these rules for them. And then once we've done that, then we're going to move on to our warm up. And our warm up is this video. And this is a really, I'm not going to show the video, but if you're able to see it here, it's 2D versus 3D shapes. And this young student is actually teaching the students about 2D and 3D shapes. And the kindergartners absolutely love this because they're seeing their peers teach. And she does such a great job. And I will, on my handout, I'm gonna try to put the links and a link out for this video. I think it's so nice. Now, the kindergartners really take it. I'm not sure about your older students like first or second grade, but I use this with kindergarten, and they love to listen and watch her teach. And it's a very interactive video, and I just think it just is so neat. And I'm trying to see if I can find other videos like that. I just wanted to share that with you. Our question for this central questions for this lesson is, how can I use learning tools to compare shapes? So we've learned about our shapes, but now we're going to talk about learning tools. Shapes can be brought together to make new shapes, and we took this. I'll let my kindergartners discuss what they see, how many shapes do they see, and what type of shapes do they see. They love talking about that. Our goal for today is to compose a simple shapes to form larger shapes. And the purpose is to reinforce the engineering process. And a lot of these lessons, you're going to see some of the same things over and over and over. But that's because, as you know, being repetitive and being consistent allows the students to be successful, because when they hear it once, twice, three times, they're able to demonstrate all the skills that we're trying to teach them. We'll learn how to put together 2D shapes to make new shapes, and we'll also learn how to make 3D shapes from 2D shapes, and we'll explore how this knowledge can help us make shapes in our world. This book I just love this book. This book is called A Big Box of Shapes, where it talks a lot about different types of shapes. But what it does is it does exactly what our goal is. It's showing the students how basic shapes put together can form brand new ones. And it gives a lots of examples in that. So I hope that you check out that book if you haven't already. This is part of the book, and this is where they can actually see how all of the different shapes within the book, or shapes in general, how you can take two or three different shapes and put them together to make one big new shape. Here, where there's my music again, but like I said, I use a lot of music for the students because it really keeps them on task. And this is where they move to their transition from the tables to from the carpet to their table where their work area is. Here are tools for this lesson: 20 wooden blocks and image cards. So each student will have 20 different types of shapes. Here are a few challenges. Students will create using 2 blocks. They will create using 4 blocks. Create a flower, and it doesn't have to be like this, but it does have to look like some type of flower. Create a pattern. This is where, if the students have not learned about patterns in the classroom, a lot of times I will introduce these new terms for the students, but they usually do a pretty good job with this. Create a character. Oh, they love this one. And then after they have created their character, they like to tell me, "Oh, Miss Phillips, I made Batman. Oh, Miss Phillips, I made the Meeper." They're always fine, love to share. And I let the students share as long as it's in a orderly way. And this is really a fun challenge for the students to be able to create a character. They love it. Create using 16 blocks. This is where students are given the take the 16 blocks out of the amount of blocks they had, and they can create whatever they like, and they love doing that too. Create an animal. That's always fun. Create using 3 different shapes, and that's where we start talking about that, like what we saw in the book. Create a robot. Here's some more challenges. Create a castle. And that brings us to our group challenge. All right. So I did a lot of scaffolding, as you notice, but I have to do that with a lot of our students. A lot of our students come to us with less experience than some. So I make sure that I try to go over a lot of different types of skill sets for our students to really build them up. But the group challenge is each group will be provided with a box of blocks, and each group will create a new toy based on the shapes that they remember from the lesson. So, from the book, they saw lots of different things that helped them understand their world and our shapes in the world. And we will discuss your design and create a name for your group toy. So they have to get together. They're all little engineers. They have to get together. They have to plan. And once they finish planning, they have to come up with some type of name for their toy. And I give them about, I'll say about probably about 10 minutes to do this, because they usually work pretty fast, and these wooden blocks are really fun to work with, and the students just love this. Here we have a few reflection questions for the students, and they get a chance to uh, work in groups. But what I do with the group, a lot of times with these group questions, with this reflection questions, I will ask one group to answer one of these questions, or I may ask two or three groups. Because my room is designed so we are in color teams. So I may say the blue team, I want you to answer this question. Listen to this, and I will ask the question. And then after I finish asking the question, I'll have anyone from the blue team answer. And I usually do that with the kindergartners in first grade. And I'm pretty successful in getting a good response so that they can stay on task, because they don't want to miss out on the question that their group may have. Once again, we place everything in the container, and then we have our cleanup song. Now, as this is loading, if there's anything that you see that you like, and if you want to ask any questions, I'm going to have show you my contact information at the end. Now, this is one of my all-time favorite lessons, and this one embeds a lot of play, as you can see, obviously with Play-Doh. And I'm going to share this objective with you that we have here. And the objective for this one, and this is kindergarten and first grade, how does changing the shape of a piece of Play-Doh build thinking skills? And I have everything that you see here is what I share with the students, everything. And I do use a lot of verbiage for the students. Sometimes it's above their levels, but it's okay because they're going to hear it again and again and again. But today they're going to understand that they're going to be utilizing their brains to do something more than just play. They're going to have to think. Our objective for this lesson is to model shapes of the world by building with Play Doh. The purpose is to build problem solving skills. How are shapes created? Well, here again, we talk about two and three dimensional shapes. They are formed by using a point, and we talk about lines and shapes and how shapes are actually created. You start with your lines. This video explains that. Here, I share with the students exactly the materials that they will be using for this lesson. And I do give an additional set of rules that we had our basic procedures, but with the Play-Doh, I really believe that it's imperative that we be very, very specific and have um, clear expectations when it comes to the Play-Doh. And here we have where the Play-Doh is not a tool, it's a toy. We don't mix the colors. The Play-Doh stays on the desk and you can read those and so forth and so on. And say this because with saying this rule and with having the students discuss this, I did not have any behavior problems. A lot of times I would go in, you know, with a lesson and I wouldn't give a lot of strict rules, so to speak, and the lesson wasn't as successful as I thought. So putting this in really, really does help keep the students on task. Now, here we're going to have several different things that we're going to do. The students know that they're going to be creating and making something today. As they play and make, they're going to have to think about what they're doing because with the Play Doh, they're going to make things in our world. And the first thing is they're going to have to create a cookie. And everybody knows everyone has a favorite cookie. So they can either create the cookie that they see on the screen or they can create their own cookie, their own favorite cookie. The next challenge, yeah, we have that we see in the world are snail. We also have seen trees. The students make trees. Pizza, that's a big favorite for the kids to make. Butterfly. They can make a boat. They make a fish, a truck, and I do allow the students. I'm kind of going quickly with this session. However, I do use music so that students are able to create their image that they have with their Play-Doh within the time allowment with the music. Now, this story is a really fun story called My Monster Piece, and what they have to do is I bring the students to the carpet and with the projector, they're listening to the story. And after they have listened to the story, they have to create their own monster piece. And those of you that know the story, you already probably can get can really understand what I mean by the monster piece. So this is a great book to use for the students to be creative. And so they go back to their tables after they have listened to the story. They have to design an element from the story and they do such a neat job with this. Here is a just a basic reflection. I'll let the students talk about if the lesson was enjoyable, yes or no, and then it's time to clean up. So as you can see, I pretty much keep everything basically the same. Here's our cleanup song again. The next building tool, this I found this a couple of years ago. It's called the GeoSticks. And this is, I think this is one of my favorite tools to use with the students, and they love it. This teaches kindergartners 2D. First graders are pretty well versed in it, but with kindergartners, I use this to teach what 2D is, 2D shapes. And here we have a review on their basic shapes. We're using this video. I'm going to move that forward. And with the geosticks, the students are able to make these basic shapes. Then I will tell the students they must make the shapes that they see on the board. They can't make anything different. And we talk about the name of the shape, and we talk about the size of the shape and how many sides. And we talk about these particular shapes, how they are created. Now, this is what the geosticks look like. The students have each between two students, there's a basket of these geo sticks, and they're able to put these sticks together. Now, some people use popsicle sticks, and you can use popsicle sticks with this one, but I love these because they're a little bit more flexible. You can create designs using these geo sticks as well, and you're able to be a little bit more creative. And this is where the students get inspiration to create some of the things that they see here. These images are images from the students and images from the GeoSticks kits that I have in the lab, and they are able to create all of these beautiful, fun images, and the children just love it. So you are able to utilize these sticks with this story called Sticks. And it is I just love these books. I love these stories for the kids because they're able to just connect so well. This is a good book called Sticks, and it's a book kind of like what a stick goes through is transformed into something throughout the story. And what the children do with them, they have to design any element they remember from the story about the stick. So they transform the stick into something else, and then we have our reflection, and then we collect all of our materials, and that brings this lesson to a close. And then we move on to our next lesson. And this is where we do I call it a culminating activity, where we are actually celebrating engineers and engineering. And I call it Little Engineers. And this is where we kind of get into the career part of of STEM. And we talk about STEM careers, but in this case, we're only talking about engineering as a career, because this is going to kind of be our culminating uh, lesson for the unit that we have here. Our objective for this lesson is to invent a product that solves problems, and our purpose is to explore the world of engineering. The students at this point are going to learn that engineering has many different components, meaning that there are lots of different types of engineers. We pose the question, what is an engineer and what does an engineer do? And I allow the students to think about all of the lessons that they had previous to this one, some of the things that they were doing, and they can come up with some really good definitions of what they feel an engineer is. Once they have done that, there's a specific video that I like to use, and I know many of you have used the Science Kids videos, and this gives a great explanation to what an engineer is and all of the parts of the engineering design process as well. Once we've done that, we kind of go over the different types of tools that we can use in our classroom. In our STEAM lab, we have lots of different types of building tools, and we share this with the students. And I bring them to this story, and it is the story called the Izzy Gizmo story, which it talks about how there's a problem and it must be solved. What problems can you solve using engineering? Now, based on the story, the bird had some problems, and I had that once the students have listened to the story, their job is to invent a pair of wings, or their job can be what invention can you create to help an animal. And that's how we talk about that's one way I get the students involved in the engineering process as well. I'll let the students select a partner, they select an engineering tool, and then they have to create a new invention for the animal or animals, and they have to sit, talk, and plan. And usually at the end, because of time constraints, I'll let the students draw a tool that they think will be pretty good for their animal, or I will let them talk or write or create the invention on paper, and then we will able to create the on the next week. And so, or sometimes I'll let them create and then we can draw later, or I'll let them just think about that, because this is an ongoing project with this. But anyway, we're finished with that. And there's our reflection piece. I just want to thank everyone for listening to this session. Here's some my contact information. Anybody have any questions or anything that you would like to, maybe you need a little bit more clarification. I'll please contact me by email, or you can follow me on Twitter. I do have a YouTube channel. I have lots of different things on there. I have a plethora of information on the channels. And once again, thank you so much, Carly and Adam, for affording me this opportunity to share. I love what I do. I love technology, and I love teaching STEM and STEAM to students. Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.